We don't want to mortgage the future. We want to build through the draft. We don't want to sell the farm. We want to build through the draft. That is what you hear a lot of the Detroit Lions fans say when it comes to getting a player like Myles Garrett in a trade acquisition or signing a big name in free agency, especially on that defensive line, somebody that can move the needle for the Detroit Lions to maybe take the next step, one that they need in order, if they're going to win it all, they're going to need to take the next step on defense. And somebody asked me a question. He's been putting it in my comment section for a while. I told him I would answer in video form because, one, it makes for great content, and two, I'm not really a typer. I'm a talker, but not a typer. So I told him that I would respond. He said he would keep basically spamming this comment until I gave my opinion, and I appreciate that because it makes for really good content. This is coming from a viewer, and he goes by the name There Is No Time 1986. And here's his post. It says, I posted this comment somewhere above, but I'd like to see what you have to say about it. The Eagles' defensive line is built almost exclusively through the draft and high draft capital. Here is their draft picks. They drafted an edge in 2023 in the first round in Nolan Smith. They took Brandon Graham in the first round in 2010, another edge. They took defensive tackle Jordan Davis in the first round in 2022. Jalen Carter, a lot of you guys wanted him in 2023 in the first round. They took defensive tackle Milton Williams in the third round of 2021. They took Oro Ojomo in the seventh round in 2023. That's a pick that usually doesn't work out. And they took Josh Sweat, a free agent, in the fourth round in 2018. He continues and says, that doesn't even account for some of the other huge performances from the Eagles defense on Sunday. Take 2024 second round pick, Cooper DeJean's pick 6, or 2024 first round pick, Quinyon Mitchell's lockdown coverage all year. That helps complement Philly's pass rush. Well, thank you for the comment first and foremost. And that was a lot. That's a lot to unpack. And I guess there really wasn't a question in there, but just my thoughts on it. This is what happened when you hit more than you miss. And we're not even going to talk about Zach Bond and bringing him in as well. So if I had to kind of, let's do like pound for pound. And let's take let me pull this back on screen. Let's take pound for pound the Detroit Lions and why this is why you have to be critical of Brad Holmes. So let's just say Jordan Davis was taken, we know he was taken after Hutch. And we're going to try to go pound for pound here. So let's just say that we're going to, I don't know, say that Aiden Hutchinson is comparable. It's really nobody on this list, but we're going to go like pound for pound, round for round. And I'm going to tell you why I am so critical of Brad Holmes. Let's take this third round pick here, and let's pound for pound say this is Aleem McNeil. Milton was a win. Aleem was a win. Now, we're specifically talking about, his point is that the Detroit Lions have built through the draft, and what are my thoughts? If Brad Holmes did this, then we would have a different conversation. If he did this, we would have a Super Bowl title. There's no doubt about it. What you see here, though, is that Brad Holmes prioritized offense in the first round, in my opinion, outside of Hutch. We brought in, well, you have Jahmyr Gibbs, you have Jack Campbell. So you got offense, defense. You took Jamison Williams in 2022. You took Aiden Hutchinson with that early pick. So you went 1 for 1. But as far as game-changing, needle-moving players, you are going to – Brad has some misses when it comes to the later round picks. That's my issue with him. This is how you do it. This is how it's done. Jalen Carter, a guy that a lot of you guys wanted, we knew that Brad was not going to take him based off his off-the-field situation. Now, I'm not one to judge a person and tell what they can and cannot do. Are they good, bad people? But we knew, based on what our team looks at, we were not going to take this guy. Now, we took Aiden Hutchinson. I don't regret this at all. But look at what you see here. We don't have this type of production through the draft on our defensive line. Now, if you look at what the Lions have done, let's take, and I wish I could keep that on the screen. Let's take what the Lions have done. Okay? Pound for pound. In 2023, they took Nolan Smith in the first round. We took Jahmyr Gibbs and Jack Campbell. Is Jack Campbell as impactful as Nolan Smith? We needed a linebacker. Did we need one in the first round? I think we needed a edge more. We've needed edge rushers forever. And this is the difference. And this is where if Brad Holmes was Howie Roseman, and this is why Howie Roseman is a better general manager than Brad Holmes. It's right now, I got to give it to the people with the Super Bowl champion trophies. You take, in 2023, we took Jack Campbell in the first round. I'm not sure where Nolan went as far as overall picks. Where did he go? 2023, Nolan Smith went 30th. So we could have drafted him over Jack Campbell. He went 30th. Jack Campbell went 18th. So what do you think? Was that a miss? Was that a reach, perhaps, from Brad Holmes? Was it a position of need? Absolutely. So was DN. And that's why I'm so critical of him, because if you are going to you need a position and you're going to take BPA, but you need a position and you're going to fill holes through free agency and you're going to draft best player available, is that what you're really doing? Are you drafting the best player available? And sometimes BPA, if you stack up, and I wondered this a long time. Let's say the best player available is a player that you have, a position that you have a ton, an overflow of players at. Are you still going to do BPA? Or are you going to fill a hole, draft a need? That's what I'm getting at. So for me, you take Nolan Smith in the first round. Okay, we took Jack Campbell. We could have taken Nolan Smith. Brandon Graham, that's not even under his. We're just going to focus on while Brad Holmes was the general manager of the Detroit Lions. In 2022, we took Jordan Davis. I'm sorry, we took Aiden Hutchinson. That's a win. I've got no problem with that. Jordan Davis went 13th overall. He went after Jamison Williams. He went the pick after Jamison Williams in 2022. Could you have taken Jordan Davis? Absolutely. Should you have taken Jordan Davis? I don't know if he was that impactful in this year's Super Bowl, but he was somebody that you had to account for. I don't know. That's kind of we really needed that, but Jamison Williams is that guy and has a lot of potential. So I don't know. I got to weigh that. All right. In 2023, we take Jahmyr Gibbs, Jack Campbell. They take Jalen Carter. We could have taken Jalen Carter, and if we really wanted to get Jahmyr Gibbs, we could have made it happen. So instead of Jack Campbell and Jahmyr Gibbs, we could have taken Jalen Carter and Jahmyr Gibbs. That would have been our first round. Now we're talking something different, right? And Josh Sweat, we don't have, if you look at this, again, this is all Brad Holmes. How did the Philadelphia Eagles, and Josh Sweat was not done under Brad Holmes. So the point is, and it's hard to kind of, Brad Holmes has had such a short time. And in those picks, who could he have drafted? He could have taken Nolan Smith over Jack Campbell. He could have taken Jalen Carter and maybe got Jahmyr Gibbs. He could have taken Jordan Davis instead of Jamison Williams. That's really, and you got the 7th round pick, Morrow. Brad Holmes in 2022, instead of Jordan Davis, he took Jamison Williams. In that 2nd round, he took Josh Pascal. Wash. In 2021, Milton Williams. Instead of Milton, hold on, wait a minute. Milton Williams in 2021 was drafted pick 70. I don't know off the top of my head. Levi Onwuzurike was a 2nd round pick. So we could have taken Milton Williams over Levi Onwuzurike. So that is why. And then you throw in a guy like Broderick Martin in 2023, and it's obvious you need a defensive line. So to answer your question, to give you my thoughts on this, Brad Holmes misses. He reaches, he misses on that D-line, and it has come back to bite us. It came back to bite us in 2023. So the reason that I'm pushing for a Myles Garrett or a Max Crosby or a Trey Hendrickson or a TJ Watt or anybody else that's a needle mover whether trade or in free agency, is because of these misses from Brad Holmes. It's because of the fact that he has not prioritized in either free agency or the NFL draft. If you take DJ Reader, acquired in free agency, and we're just talk about the draft. So if you take Aleem McNeil and Aiden Hutchinson out of the draft picks that Brad Holmes has got on the D-line, you can't really say that it compares to the Philadelphia Eagles defensive line. And we could have had a couple of those picks. We could have had Milton Williams. We could have had Jalen Carter. We could have had Jordan Davis. And we could have had Nolan Smith. That is why I am so critical of Brad Holmes and this defensive line. There's no doubt that he knows how to draft, but he leaves a lot to be desired on the D-line. And you can see now that it is a difference the Philadelphia Eagles won the game by rushing 4. The Detroit Lions on their, and this is why it really kind of bugs me when we say a healthy defense that we would have won the game. Do you know that we wouldn't have DJ Reader, Aleem McNeil, Aiden Hutchinson, and Marcus Davenport were not enough. That, to me, in my honest opinion, was not enough to cause havoc with the front 4. We've seen, do you know we only sack, how many times did we sack Matthew Stafford? How many times did we sack Matthew Stafford? One of the stiffest quarterbacks in the NFL. Now, granted, that was game 1. There was no preseason games for these guys on the defensive line. It might have taken them some time to mesh. So game 1 would have been different from game 5, no doubt. But how many times did we sack Matthew Stafford game 1? 1, 1.5, 2. What was it? It wasn't a ton, I know that. And that was the freshest our D-line was going to be. So Brad Holmes, to me, and I think that this was a perfect question, a perfect scenario, built exclusively through the draft. When you don't do that, then you have to go outside of the draft, because these are people that, Brad Holmes has an opportunity to not necessarily make amends, but with the DE class being so deep this season, but now we only have 1 first-round pick. Now we only got the 1, right? So we had the 1, we burned our first 2-round picks, and that's what makes it so frustrating. When we had our 2 first-round picks, we went Hutch, Jamison Williams, Jahmyr Gibbs, Jack Campbell. That was the end. And I think there's a fair trade-off, right? But I don't know, Brad, I love the question. Thank you for it. I see all of this stuff. I see what other teams have been doing, and then what Brad Holmes has done. If you compare Brad Holmes and Howie Roseman, what they've done to make their team better on defense, specifically the defensive line, there is no comparison. That is why the Lions were sent home their first game. They did not win a playoff game. That is why Howie Roseman was celebrating today at a Super Bowl parade. He is Les Snead 2.0. And they're going to do what it has to do. We knew that Brad Holmes wasn't going to take any chances on Jalen Carter. But the question is, should he have? Should he have taken a chance on Jalen Carter? I truly believe that if Brad wanted, we could have taken Jalen Carter. We were sitting at 6 with the Rams pick. We could have taken Jalen Carter. If he really wanted Jahmyr Gibbs, he could have taken, we were sitting at 18. He could have packaged something to come up from 18 to 12. Because 18 was our pick. So we could have got Jahmyr Gibbs. Will we have missed out on potentially Sam Laporta, Brian Branch? We might have. I can't remember which pick was which. What did we get from? I can't remember. But we've seen that if Brad wants to make something happen, he makes it happen. So I love this question. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I don't think there's any comparison between the two. And I think that if you look at the fact that if Brad Holmes hit like this on the defensive line, he's hit, but not on the defensive line. The question was, or the statement was, that this guy, the Philadelphia Eagles, have done it through the draft and high draft capital. Brad used his high draft capital on Aiden Hutchinson, Jamison Williams, Jack Campbell, Jahmyr Gibbs, Josh Pascal, Levi. Like, I'm telling you, all the first couple of rounds. And he has not hit in the later round. James Houston is no longer on this team. Mekhi Wingo is to be determined. And you have probably the best late pick that he's ever made was Malcolm Rodriguez. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Great assessment. Thank you for the content and it's not really a question, but thank you for asking my thoughts on it. But I think that this shows you what Brad is lacking on the defensive line. And maybe there needs to be something. I don't know. He needs to be a better evaluator. It's right there. It's right there. I don't make this stuff up. All right. You guys are awesome. Take care of yourself and each other. And as always, go Lions.